Okay, shalom, y'all. Great to see you again. And every time that we meet, it's a special occasion for me. Um, we are watching the news very carefully here in Israel. As you all know, we had a very sad event this week that
Yeah,
6 of our hostages were executed
yeah.
ruthlessly by the Hamas, and
Hmm.
just innocent young kids went to a party and they got executed. And the media really doesn't talk about the fact that they were executed. Um, I think that Netanyahu is planning a big birthday surprise for Sinwar. I don't know what's going to happen, but I know that the Israeli army is very methodically grinding down the capabilities of Hamas. Um, one of the dreams of Hamas, one of the dreams of Sinwar, is to spark a revolution in Judea and Samaria. And so, from what they say in the news, the Israeli news says that many troops that have been sent to the Lebanese border are now being resent south to Judea and Samaria in order to deal with the Hamas and other terrorist groups in Judea and Samaria. And the the Palestinian Authority in Judea and Samaria seems like it's getting ground down, completely losing all its support and popularity among the Palestinians there, and the Hamas having greater popularity among the population. So Sinwar is completely losing it in Gaza, but they seem to be picking up support in Judea and Samaria. And we have a lot of work to do. We are facing a war on 7 fronts. And so the Israeli military is very busy. Where I live here near East Jerusalem, we have military aircraft flying over our house all the time. From our house to Gaza is about a 2 minute flight. From our house to Lebanon is about a 3 minute flight. And Judea and Samaria, well, we're right in the middle of Judea and Samaria, so it's a no flight, really. You just take off and drop your bombs, and it's a very, very tough situation for us. So we're watching very carefully what's happening with Hamas. Um, President Biden said to Iran, don't. So it seems Iran is laying back. Hezbollah in Lebanon has been told don't. They're laying back. So Israel is shifting a lot of its troops over to Judea and Samaria because the Palestinians in Judea and Samaria are being pumped with lots of high quality weapons from Iran and Afghanistan, courtesy of President Biden's retreat from Iran. Um, so we're watching very carefully. I mean, here in Kedar, Male Adumim, Jerusalem, we really do not see um, attacks. But what we do find at our military checkpoints is that there are many, many vehicles trying to smuggle in illegal Palestinians without permits and also weapons. And so we see an increase, an uptick in fighting in Hebron, and of course, fighting everywhere in Judea and Samaria. We had a very big miracle yesterday where a car bomb was reported by a settler, and the sappers came and blew up the car. 3 school buses with kids were supposed to drive by a few minutes later, so this is a major miracle. And we've lost some people, but it's been one miracle after another. This is really a full-fledged war of terrorism with the Palestinians. So I think we're going to continue having to deal with this. There was an interesting internet article yesterday that Israel is signing deals for our Nautilus system, which is the laser beam interceptor system, for 59 trillion Israeli pounds, is about 15 trillion, $20 trillion. And this is the weapon. If we're selling it already, I have a feeling it's deployed here already. And this will add a tremendous amount of support to the Air Force in bringing down incoming missiles. So again, thanks to the U.S. Navy, we have a very big shield from these missiles. But I imagine at some stage the U.S. Navy is going to have to pull back, and so the Nautilus system, which I believe is being deployed, It's not completely deployed. They were talking about December, January, but now I have an itchy feeling that we're getting closer to the full deployment of the Nautilus. And if you look at the prices, I don't want to bore you with the details, but the intercontinental missiles coming in from all over the world to hit Israel, there are 3-4 types of anti-missile missiles that are used. But now the Nautilus is going to be brought into the inventory. And instead of costing $1 million a shot, the beam, the laser beam, is going to cost like $40,000 only, which is nothing in military terms. And the laser beam can take out one incoming target after another. And where the sensitive places are on the ground in Israel, I imagine we'll have a few of these beam systems set up so that even if they send in hundreds of missiles in one shot, we can take down all of them without the need for American supply or intervention. But you know, this is really, really the quiet now before the storm. And the United States is warning Iran and Hezbollah not to attack. But we know that this is what they have been living for dozens of years now, to attack Israel and destroy Israel. Israel is really the only country in the world that is permanently facing a threat of annihilation from the same countries over and over again. And the U.S. government, on the one hand, is helping us. On the other hand, is preventing us from taking out these genocidal systems to destroy Israel, which will destroy Arabs also. From here, I want to go into something else, which I think I began to talk about in the last few weeks. And that is that there is a country to the east and to the south of India. It's called Bangladesh. And Bangladesh used to be part of Pakistan. Pakistan used to be East Pakistan and West Pakistan. And but the West Pakistanis behaved in a very horrible manner towards the East Pakistanis because the West Pakistanis are Pashtun and the East Pakistanis are Bengals. And who was racism. They're all Muslim, and yet there was racism against the Bengalis. And they were doing horrible things to the Bengalis. So finally, India, which is a Hindu country, intervened on behalf of Bangladesh to defeat the Pakistanis. They've defeated the Pakistanis a few times in war, and Bangladesh got its independence. And Bangladesh is an interesting country because it has a majority of Muslims, but it also has Hindus, and it also has Buddhists living there, and Christians. Very interesting country. Again, Muslim country, but the main party for decades has been a freedom party led by Sharifa Hussein. And the United States worked to overthrow her 2 weeks ago. The United States has been supporting the Taliban, like in Afghanistan, to cause Bangladesh to become a fanatic Muslim country. The Prime Minister, Sharifa Hussein, who is a Muslim woman, had to flee and beg asylum from the Indians, from the Hindus. She got asylum. Now they're massacring Hindus, Buddhists, and Christians who are living in Bangladesh, all because the United States supported the genocide of these different minorities. My dear friend, I won't mention his name, but I know Lori, you received emails. More emails came in from him. And they're very, very horrible videos about how the U.S. has been working to overthrow the regime, democratically elected regime in Bangladesh, for America's narrow interests with the Muslims. And the reason it's so interesting is because America is also working to the overthrow, coup d'etat of Netanyahu and the democratically elected government of Israel. My dear friend in Bangladesh sent me now another email that the same globalist system, which is working to destroy Israel, destroy Bangladesh, is now working to destroy India. India is over 1 billion people population. It is the biggest democracy in the world. And they are working to undermine, the U.S. is working to undermine the democratically elected government of India. I don't know who's in charge in Washington. I don't think Biden is in charge. I don't know if Kamala Harris even ever heard of Bangladesh or India. Something very wrong going on in Washington. And I can tell you with full responsibility that the attempted coup d'etat against Netanyahu and the Israeli freely elected government in Israel, it's very worrisome because the globalists go against anyone who believes in God or believes in a religion. They are anti-religious of any kind. They are anti-nationalist. In other words, Netanyahu is a nationalist. Sharifa was a nationalist. Modi of India is a nationalist. I don't want to go too far, but even Putin is a nationalist. The globalists don't like him. They don't like anyone who's religious or nationalist. I spoke about this in my DVD, The Trump Revolution, which came out in 2016, where I was explaining about how Trump, Netanyahu, and Putin, don't forget, Putin in 2016 was before the invasion of the Ukraine. The globalists have a plan. The plan could take years to institute, but we know from our own skin off our backs that we have a problem with the globalists regarding Israel because globalists are against Judaism. They're against Judaism and they're against Israel. So we are facing a Holocaust here. Bangladesh could be facing a Holocaust because of a civil war. India is threatened with coup d'etat by the United States. Something very wrong going on. And it's one of the reasons why they hate Trump so much, because Trump is anti-globalist. I think it would be interesting if somebody out there would sit down with Trump and just say to him, hey, did you know that these are globalists? And globalists also are working against Christian America because they're against God, they're against Jesus Christ, they're against Christian America. So these are things which, the Americans are asleep because the media won't tell them anything that's happening. That's the reason I'm doing these Zooms. But what I wanted to stress is that Israel now has received a sufficient number of slaps in the face from Washington, D.C. And so Israel now has put back online all its munitions factories. We're not going to rely on America anymore because America is constantly changing its mind and refusing us armaments that have been promised to us. And we're fighting a war of genocide. We have to defend ourselves. So if we cannot defend ourselves with American weapons, we have to make our own weapons. And you all know that Israel used to make its own weapons, and then a deal was cut with some generals who said, okay, we're going to buy Americans much cheaper, much more efficient. And then all of a sudden the U.S. says, oh, we're not going to supply them because we don't like your decision making. So this is globalism in action. And this globalism has to be turned around and kicked out of the House. So we're going to be watching this very closely. I would say let's do questions now because there's a lot more for me to say, but I usually give better answers when I'm asked. Any questions?
Oh, sorry.
TikTok. I see Neil just popped up.
Avi, one of the headlines that I see often is and maybe this follows what you just said. It's propaganda and it's by some bodies, but a lot of what I see on headlines is that in Judea and Samaria, in Gaza, the Israelis are kind of worn down, and people are celebrating this. Certain newspapers, of course, Al Jazeera and others, are celebrating that Israel's worn down and they're refusing to fight anymore and all this. Is there any truth to that element?
Okay. To say that we are not worn down would be a lie. To say that soldiers refuse to fight, I think in many instances there may be cases of soldiers who are tired. You have to remember, speaking to you right now, Avi Lipkin had a business for 10 years. I was sole exclusive importer for Teledyne Waterpik. I don't know if you heard of Waterpik, but I think you probably have. I had two stores. I had a store in Jerusalem, a store in Tel Aviv. I was constantly being called up for 1 to 2 months every time by the Israeli military for artillery service. I was just a private in the 155 howitzers. And I lost my business. It went bankrupt. Well, I didn't go bankrupt. I paid all my debts. I never went to Chapter 11. But the army destroyed my business. There are a lot of people in Israel today who are losing their businesses. Many people then lose their homes because people take out mortgages on their homes so that they can invest that in the business. And then when the business goes bankrupt, you lose your home, you lose your business, and many times you lose your wife because you get divorced. And I don't know how many of you out there know my wife, but she deserves a medal for not divorcing me or killing me. Rachel stayed loyal to me through all the difficulties we went through. But we lost the business. And then I went through a change in life where, praise God, I was able to go study 3 years for the seminary, 2 years at the Prime Minister's office. And then I finally started coming to the States for 35 years. I had to change my whole life. There are a lot of people in Israel who are serving the army. They're losing their businesses. They're losing their fortunes. They're losing their families, getting divorced. I don't know how much of it is true. But because I went through this myself, I can tell you that I do believe that there is a percentage of Israeli reserve soldiers who can't take it anymore. And there are people with post-traumatic stress. Israel's a small country, and our own generals worked to chop down the army even smaller than what it was. So the situation is not good in Israel for young people serving in the military. I mean, you're a military combat soldier. You can look forward to losing your house, losing your business, losing your family, your wife. It's not an easy situation. I cannot come out and say that those newspapers are wrong. I mean, think for a moment, the United States is how much bigger than Israel? About 50 times bigger. What do you call it? I'm having a President Biden moment. The population of Israel is about 10 million, including 2 million Arabs. America has 350. It's about 30 times bigger. So think about that in the way of population of your young people being militarily drafted. And it's not like America where you volunteer and make a career. But the military here is to draft. Everyone gets drafted. And I'll never forget, even when I left my parents in Great Neck and moved to Israel, they said, you know, you're not even going to serve in the military, American military, and you go to volunteer in the Israeli military, they're going to destroy your life. And the army and the wars here destroyed my life. We have a difficult time. And, you know, it's very, very hard. You take a country like Nazi Germany. Nazi Germany could not defeat the United States and the Allies because the Allies simply outproduced them. And the Allies had soldiers, unlimited amounts. The Russians, unlimited. What we face today here, we're facing enemy neighbors that human life means nothing for them. And so if Israelis lose millions of soldiers, that's the end of Israel. Even America could not take Afghanistan after more than, how many years was America in Afghanistan? 20 years? So, you know, the United States was in Iraq. The United States was in Afghanistan. Russia fled from Afghanistan. Kipling wrote about this in the 1800s, that Britain could not take control of Afghanistan. Very hard country to be in control of. So what we have is we have a Hamas in Gaza. We have Hamas in Judea and Samaria. And the people are completely crazy. Their God Allah makes them completely crazy to fight to the end against the Jewish people. And Jewish people are having a problem with an ideology called socialism, which teaches that all people are good and that all religions are good or bad or whatever. But we have a great part of our population that does not understand the nature of the beast, because the nature of the beast is the devil. And these people have the devil in them, these fanatic Muslims. They're good Muslims, but how do you explain all these Israeli hostages in the tunnels under the ground in Gaza, and virtually no inside intelligence information is reaching us so that we can release these people? The only way we get the intelligence information is when we take prisoners and we make a deal with the prisoners that if they tell us where the hostages are, dead or alive, they will get easier terms of imprisonment. So I don't know what to tell you. I think there is, Neil, a great amount of exhaustion and beginning to be signs of opposition. In any country of the world, when there's a war, there's going to be opposition. Like, why are we there? Why are we losing the blood of our young people? And then you have the left-wing generals that are working to subvert the Israeli government and give away all our assets for nothing. And then if the Hamas wants to make a point about how evil they are, they execute 6 Israeli young kids, hostages, shot them in the head. What's going on here? This is crazy. But it's all the more reason why we cannot give up the Philadelphia Road and the Middle Road in Gaza, and then, of course, the North Road. We can't let the terrorists take over in Gaza. If we let them take over in Gaza again, within a very short time, it will be another September, October the 7th. And so the oath of the Israeli government is to protect the Israeli people, not allow any more of these terrorist attacks from Gaza. And now that it's been expanded to Judea and Samaria. And don't forget, where we live, Rachel and I, we're surrounded by at least 100,000 armed terrorists. And we're about 250 people in our community. Good question, Neil. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Avi.
Hi, Avi. It's Angela.
Hi, Angela. Enjoy.
Hello. Yeah. I just want to say, as a British person, I want to apologise. I'm just so disgusted with our government that on the day, Israel is burying those poor hostages who were murdered in cold blood, they're announcing they're not going to be providing any military equipment or meeting of Israel's needs in that area. It's just staggering. It's absolutely staggering to us, to the majority of British actually, who are that at that particular moment of national mourning in Israel, that our government should choose to do that and abandon its closest ally in the Middle East. We just cannot believe it. And even Boris Johnson said something, we are now to believe that Keir Starmer and his government are pro-Hamas. They actually want Hamas to win. It's just staggeringly stupid or staggeringly evil. What the hell is he doing? There's a lot of anger about this, and God forbid, he might have to call on Israel and have can we buy your technology, please? If rockets start raining down on us, our towns and cities. I mean, this man is an imbecile. I don't know how Israel is processing this, but it's sending such a disgusting message to terrorism across the world. Any terrorists anywhere, that the West is just, they're for the taking. We're all for the taking now, it seems, of these idiotic people. And I just wondered. I know in Israeli consciousness, they probably just have an overload of what to think about. They don't want to think about anything. But even the US have said hardly anything about their military personnel from the Navy being attacked in Turkey by a communist nationalist party. It's who don't even have any seats in Turkish Parliament, I don't think. But the way it's just staggering where we are that the media don't. Well, we know they don't tell the truth, but these things ought to be an outrage if we've learned anything from history at all. Uh, why would we even think to turn our backs on Israel at this moment? I just beyond it. I really am so angry, and I'm just very very sorry that the present British government have chosen to do such a thing. So I just want to apologise to you on behalf of my nation. Yeah, I don't know what else to say really, but I'm grossly upset by this. Yeah, and I just think, you know, we ought to be standing with you, really, because if you look at the state of Europe, well, the days it can't be very far off in the future when we're going to be facing similar attacks on our own soil. Yeah, I don't know what else to say really, but just to let you know that we're praying for you. We're praying for you, and we want to see you be successful in getting rid of these evil scourge that's there, because it's pure evil, pure evil. And they've even though they've said we're going to do it again, they say, why don't they listen and believe what they say? It's clear what their intentions are. Cannot pull out. It has to be. You just have to go on. I thank God for Netanyahu. He's actually got the spine to stand up and do something about it. It's just tragic, really, what's going on. So I'll stop my rant now, but yeah.
Well, I didn't want to interrupt you because I should really tell you to pack your suitcase and go traveling with me because I think you do a very good job. You have that beautiful British accent also. Listen, firstly, I want to reconfirm that I believe Benjamin Netanyahu is the right man in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
And my wife and I are always praying for him because we're saying, how can Netanyahu withstand these horrible pressures from these evil Jewish leaders who on the left who are working to overthrow him and say nothing ever good about him. And I think he's doing the right things at the right time. And I support him 100%, even though I'm the head of the Judeo-Christian Bible Bloc Party, which is not Likud, but maybe one day we'll be in the Knesset and ultimately will help to strengthen Netanyahu's hand in what he's doing by a great Judeo-Christian alliance. With your permission, I do want to say something I've said many times on these Zoom programs, and that is once I traveled to Switzerland, to Zurich, and I was picked up by my host, and we were driving, and he's talking. All of a sudden, he starts crying. He's crying bitterly, and he Christian children in Europe over the last 20, 30 years. And so God gave us a gift, 50 million Muslim immigrants to Europe. Now, you've got to remember, the world depends on oil. Today, the Brits and the Norwegians actually have the European oil. America has a tremendous amount of oil. There's certain countries which have a lot of oil and gas. Israel, Greece, and Cyprus are now beginning to export the gas from the gas fields in the Eastern Mediterranean. Believe it or not, we export to Jordan. Jordan exports to Egypt. Egypt liquefies the gas, and the gas is resold in a liquefied form to Europe and back to Jordan and Syria and other countries as well. So Israel and the Cypriots together in partnership are beginning to get the gas out from under the ground. I don't know what's the situation with petroleum, but we do have natural gas. But still, the world is much more dependent on Islamic petro energy than Israel. United States, everyone wants that energy from the Islamic world. The Islamic world receives tremendous amounts of hard currency for this petro energy. The money then has to be reinvested back into the European and American economies. So Israel is really not important. And also because of the 50 million children aborted, you need the laborers coming in from the Islamic world, some from Africa also. Again, Israel is irrelevant. So, you know, that's how the European leaders look at Israel. Except for the Cypriots and the Greeks, who are beginning to understand that they have no choice but to be in alliance with Israel. And the Turks, I've spoken about this, the Turks are a great threat to Cyprus and to the Greeks. Israel is there to fight for them if necessary. I'm here struggling, writing 3 books at the same time. So I've got to complete the book about Turkey and the Armageddon, because the Turks are going to go against Cyprus, Greece, and Israel all at the same time. I don't know what America's role, if any, will be at that time. So there are a lot of questions, but the point is the Muslim countries and England is dominated by the Muslim countries. They have population in England. They have money in England. They have oil reserves which are flowing to Europe, to England. So maybe that's why they're so happy to work with the Muslims and thinking to themselves that they will be off the hook when Islam decides to take down England. So the only thing I can say is, you know, I wish the churches in England would be more courageous. But what we see is that the churches in England are shutting down and being sold out to the Muslims, because there's no real leadership in the Anglican Church. And the Catholic Church is pro-Muslim for the same reasons. So, you know, listen, I'm from America. I know the American scene, but I'm living in Israel. I know the Israeli scene. And we're fighting for our survival here in Israel. And we're also fighting for the survival of Judeo-Christian Western civilization and democracy. And my political party is for the defense of Judeo-Christian Western civilization and democracy. So as the Winston Churchill, famous Winston Churchill used to say, you know, it's not the beginning of the end, but it's the end of the beginning. I think the time will come that the pendulum will swing back in the right direction.
Yeah. Thank you, Avi. Thank you very much.
Best of everything there in Jersey.
Thank you. Thank you.
As long as you're not a New Yorker, you're okay. Susan Pellegrini is going to let me have it.
Yeah.
Avi, what about the so-called strike? Was that was there something to that, or was that just a bunch of media hype?
No, there was a strike. Let me tell you what the problem with the strike was. The Histadrut is a Soviet invention, and they are employers and they are employees all at the same time. And hey, listen, I've been in Israel 55 years. 50 years ago, I took out the red Histadrut membership card for my health insurance. I have good health insurance. But the Histadrut is a political arm of the Socialist Party. So the Bar David, who launched this strike, did it on his own volition. And the strike was not about salaries or pension rights or anything personal about the workers. This strike was a personal vendetta strike against Netanyahu. It was a political strike to hurt the Likud, which is the majority party. And the more they do this shenanigans, the more the Likud party gets stronger and stronger in the next election. I think that the Likud is going to win a tremendous victory in October 2026, which is another 2 years. So, I mean, of course, unless the Judeo-Christian Bible Bloc Party comes in and takes over, which is something I'm ready to do, but I don't know how much chance I have for that. The Attorney General for the Israeli government, the Chief Attorney General, said this was an illegal strike, but instead of saying it in the afternoon yesterday or the day before, she waited overnight and she took her time. So she ruled out the strike. The strike ended after a few hours because she's left wing also. So there are things, we kind of like, we half laugh, half cry at the treason of the left-wing attorney general, left-wing parties. These are all people, they are fossils that have been trying to hang on for 100 years. And the majority of the Israeli population is fed up with this. Thank you, Laurie. Good question. Next question. I'm very worried about Susan Pellegrini because she's so silent. I didn't know Susan Pellegrini could be so silent.
I'm here, but I have to go out soon, so I'm hiding myself because I got to do stuff. But I'm here.
I love you. I'm just picking on you. Okay. Any other victims?
Avi, what's the feel from the hostage families as far as, we see so much about people supporting or not supporting the strong stance of staying in Gaza versus getting, quote unquote deal, but getting the hostages out versus staying in Gaza. What do you think the sense is among the hostage families?
The hostage families, again, I cannot give you a percentage, but a great percentage are in favor of Netanyahu and continuing the war and fighting to the last bullet to get all our people out. Then there's another percentage, I'd venture to say 50-50, that are saying they have to overthrow Netanyahu because he's not doing a good job, that Netanyahu should have called for a ceasefire, pulled out of Gaza, and surrendered to the Hamas conditions, which is something we cannot do. So I don't know. Listen, I live here near Jerusalem, to the east of Jerusalem, and the military aircraft are flying our house all the time. We hear rumble of military aircraft all the time. We never had such a thing. This has been going on for 11 months. So it's about 50-50, I would say. You have to remember, I'll say another thing also, which may be unfair of me, but a lot of the people who were at the Nova party on October the 7th, these are people who were breaking the Sabbath. They were not observing the Sabbath. They were left-wing. They were Tel Avivi. They were ultra-liberal. And the people who lived in the kibbutzim were close friends of the Hamas people there. And they themselves could not believe why they were being attacked, because they were helping the Hamas people all the time. So we had a little instance this last week in which a zookeeper fell into the moat where the crocodiles were, and the crocodiles were going after him. And he was saved. He was bitten a few times, but he was saved. And so there was a comedian on Israeli TV who was saying, that the only thing that really didn't make sense, it was an extraordinary thing, was that he was attacked because he was feeding them every day. And everyone was laughing because he was saying, crocodiles are wild animals. They'll bite at anything, even if they're full. And that's how the Hamas are. They attack the very same people who are helping them, because that is the nature of the beast. That is the nature of Satan. That is the nature of snakes. That is the nature of crocodiles. Excuse me for saying it, but these stupid liberals in Tel Aviv who go to Friday night parties, breaking the Sabbath and doing it like 500 yards from the border of Gaza. I don't want to say they had it coming to them. I wouldn't say that, but I am saying that if they were home that night, lighting candles and observing the Sabbath, none of that would have happened. And if our generals were not so also left-wing socialists mocking the Arabs, and the military had been called up, we could have nipped this whole thing in the bud. But the stupid generals in the Israeli army who were ultra-left refused to recognize the threat of the Hamas attack. So, and this is not the first time. In 1973, we had exactly the same problem with the Yom Kippur War, where our chief intelligence general was threatening all his underlings with jail if they kept talking about an Egyptian and Assyrian attack, to the very moment that the air raid sirens went off. So, it's the same socialist, communist type people who don't believe in God, don't understand God. Therefore, they don't understand the nature of the beast. They don't understand the devil. And they think God's Arabs are just like any other people. No, they're not just like any other people. These are super Nazis. And you have to remember, when the U.S., British, and French went into West Germany in 1945, it took them years to change the education system, the Nazi cultural of death. We have the same thing with Islam today in Gaza and all over the world. Good point, Lori. Who's Belva Lowry? I see a beautiful face and beautiful red hair, but I don't know who she is. Maybe she's from Aaron's group.
She's my friend. Say hi, Belva.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Belva. Are you with Valerie?
Am I what?
Who are you with?
Valerie.
That's what I was saying. Good. Nice to meet you.
Thank
I'll
you.
forgive you this time, but usually you have to come in firing with questions.
Okay.
Are you taking care of Valerie?
Yes, she is.
Good.
Abby, is there any further news or updates on what's in Jordan? I was reading about militias being built up in Jordan, about them pouring in there the other day. Is there anything on Israeli news about that, about the threat there?
Which militias?
That they have militias building up within Jordan. There be people being brought in there.
You're talking about not Georgia in the southeast United States. You're talking about Georgia bordering on
Jordan.
Russia.
In the
Caucasus.
Kingdom of Jordan.
Jordan.
Yeah.
Okay. My wife always says I don't listen to her, and I say I have artillery ears, and she says, no, you have selective hearing. So all I can say.
I tell my husband that as well.
Jordan is between a rock and a hard place. Jordan, on the one hand, is not really happy about its partnership, its alliance with Israel. But Jordan is threatened by Iran also. Jordan is threatened by a lot of countries. And Israel is always there to help Jordan. Israel also provides Jordan with its water supplies, a lot of its military backing. So we have a kind of a tense but a stable alliance with Jordan. And we'll have to continue watching. Listen, we have an alliance with Egypt, and Egypt is preparing for war with Israel. How do you explain that? The problem is the Islam. The problem is the Islamic, I don't want to say faith, the Islamic psychosis, which calls for the absolute annihilation of the Jews on Saturday and the Christians on Sunday.
I was also reading that Bashar al-Assad has moved himself and his family to Moscow. Is that true, do you think?
I don't think it's true. I think that they definitely have like a vacation resort place, which is reserved for them. We're in summer, but he cannot rule Syria if he's not in Syria.
Yeah.
Another problem is that there's an ethnic group in Syria called the Druze, D-R-U-Z-E.
Yes.
And the Druze are threatened by ISIS-type elements. And
Mhm.
they have always had an agreement with Bashar al-Assad. But Bashar al-Assad told them 10 years ago he couldn't defend them anymore. So Netanyahu went to Moscow and met with Putin and asked the Russian military to come in and protect the Druze. And the Druze in Israel are saying to Netanyahu, just give us permission. We will conquer the south of Syria, and we will link up with our brethren in the south of Jordan and Mountain of the Druze, and we will make sure that no ill will come to them from ISIS.
Wow.
Now, there's a city in the south of Syria called Deraa, that's Sunni. There's another city called Asuwaida, and that's very close to the Mountain of the Druze. So I think we're talking about 20, 30 miles. Israel's border could expand in the next war
Yeah,
to cover the Mountain of the Druze, which is part of the biblical fulfillment.
exactly. Yeah. Amen. Thank you.
My pleasure. I live for this, you know. Okay, Lori, with your permission, Lori has asked a wonderful question. I never talk about it because nobody asks, but Lori just asked. So it says, what happens when Islam meets up with globalism? And what I think is that globalism is going to use the useful idiots who are Muslims, and then at the end, the globalists are going to shut the Muslims down too. In other words, all religions are bad. This is the bottom line of the globalists. Not Judaism, not Christianity, not Hinduism, not Buddhism. Islam is a dangerous system, but it can be shut down by the globalists. Good question, but the answer is very simple. When will that happen? I don't know, but it could happen.
Armageddon.
We're close. We're close.
I would like to know,
Yeah.
how is globalism related to socialism?
Well, globalism and socialism have something very much in similar, and that is that the socialists believe in an economic system which basically takes the money away from the rich, gives it to the poor, but in the end, takes the money from the rich and gives it to the socialists, and the poor remain poor. What does it have to do with Islam or any other system? The globalist system wants to use any and every useful idiot to rise to the top and then take total control of the earth. It's 1984, George Orwell. Did you read Orwell?
No.
He explains how this works. And basically the world becomes a one world government and no religion will be tolerated. Definitely Judaism, Christianity will not be tolerated.
Thank you.
Again, my pleasure. Also, I wanted to say this to anyone and everyone, tell your friends and relatives, these YouTubes do not cost anything. People can go to Avi Lipkin YouTubes and watch every week the YouTube that we produce here. We tape it, Lori tapes it and gives it to my son Aaron, and he posts it on YouTube. We got to get the message out.
Avi, I was wondering if probably don't know, but do you think they know where Sinwar is?
UNRWA?
Do you think they know where Sinwar is?
Oh, they know everything. They're Hamas. I think Biden even knows where Sinwar is.
Yeah. Yeah. The Israelis know?
We kind of know, but the problem is the moment the Israeli troops go in, they'll just shoot up all our hostages,
Yeah.
which they did this week.
Yeah.
And of course, Netanyahu will be blamed, and there will be massive demonstrations and strikes.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking, yes, bring them home, the campaign, bring them home now.
Yeah.
But really, that puts all the onus on the Israeli government to do something. And they obviously are trying their best. Their hands are tied. But really, they should be screaming, release them now. We demand from Hamas, release them now. Since they're the ones who hold them. Yeah, it seems like this bring them home now is just being corrupted to cause internal tensions, as you were saying before. But really, I feel, why don't they change that? And because Hamas just sit there and no pressure is on them to do anything. And they're the ones that have caused all this.
Well, Israel is the
have the hostages.
Israel is the scapegoat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Avi, what's the plan to protect all of the settlers in Judea and Samaria right now? Are they going to send more troops your direction?
Yes, this was in the news today that troops are being withdrawn from the Lebanese border to the north and being brought into the center of the country because it seems like we have a massive revolt taking place in Judea and Samaria. And it seems this takes precedence over the war in Lebanon. And besides, and I've said this many times on the Zooms over the last few months, the war with Lebanon will only happen when the Nautilus anti-missile systems are in place. And Israel is totally covered by these lasers, which I think is December. So we have enough time, I think now in September, maybe into November, October. There's a gray area there between September, October, November, December, until the anti-missile systems are up. So meanwhile, maybe the military feels that it's possible to switch over the troops to Judea and Samaria, wipe out their infrastructure, like we've been doing for 11 months in Gaza. You have to remember, these Palestinians are cut from the same cloth, and they all support Hamas. They all support the satanic system to kill the Jews on Saturday and the Christians on Sunday. This is what I've been talking about for 35 years, Valerie. You've been helping me all these years, so you know exactly what I'm saying. So I would say, and I use the example of the game pickup sticks. Gaza is the first pickup stick. We thought Lebanon would be the second, but it seems like Judea and Samaria will be the second pickup stick. Third pickup stick will be probably Lebanon. Fourth will be Iran. And when this happens, Israel is doing the world a tremendous favor by liquidating the atomic reactor and the atomic program of the Iranians, because these atomic weapons will be used against the United States. There should be no doubt about that. Questions. We're approaching the end of the hour.
You covered a lot today.
Well, there's so much happening every week from Zoom meeting to Zoom meeting. Mm-hmm. So there's always a lot to cover. By the way, what I didn't cover is what you have tons of when you watch Fox News or any other American station, and that's the elections. And I'm praying very much for Trump. Aaron is praying for Trump. We all vote for him every time. So we're hoping things will work out for the better. Biden was on the news yesterday where he was saying that Netanyahu is not doing enough to get the hostages. What? It's crazy.
What do you think more can be done when he says that?
Well, I think basically elections come first in America. And so what Biden wants and Kamala Harris want, simply that Israel should surrender to its defense, surrender its existence so that Democrats can win. But this is like a boomerang. It's going to go against the Democrats. And I'll tell you, we got something here from Yoram Ettinger, who was our ambassador-level Israeli connection to the Christian evangelicals and conservatives. And he gave a list of 5 different Jewish intellectuals that Kamala Harris is basing her ideology on. And they're fanatically against Israel. And the crazy thing here is, and it breaks my heart that I'm a Jew, and I see Jewish people who are against Israel. I see Christians who are for Israel, and the Christians are my Christians are very perplexed about why these liberal Jewish people say what they say and do what they do. And if you remember, I had lunch with a neo-Nazi who said to me, we're going to kill all these Jews, all these socialist, all these left-wing Jews. And so it could lead to a Holocaust in the States. I mean, for Israel, it would be good if we got a few million Jews and Christians to move here. But I think also about the poor people who are not smart enough to understand what's happening, and they get eliminated. Because a civil war in America, unfortunately, is a possibility. Here in Israel, a civil war is a possibility. The left-wing people have said it. And Netanyahu was a very smart man that's been able to avoid a civil war until now. There are very, very strange, striking similarities between the reality of America and the reality of Israel.
What more can Bibi do to get the hostages back?
In my opinion, I support Bibi 100%. He has to continue with the military operation, wipe out as many Hamas as possible. Those we take prisoner, interrogate them, and find out where the hostages are. It's the only way to get to them.
So Hamas is not going to let these hostages go. They're going to
never. Thank you, Neil. Good to see you.
Thank you, Avi. Bye now.
Bye.
But it seems like even if they know where they are, it's difficult to get to them. If when they try to get to them, they kill the hostages.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened with 6. There would have to be a way to very carefully get in, kill the guards, and then free the hostages. Usually that's what happened in the past.
Yeah.
How do you live each day with this? You said on seven fronts you're facing invasion. How do you go about your life every day?
Well, firstly, if you're asking me personally, my answer is a simple answer, and that is that we are not just to the east of Jerusalem in the desert. Our community is very isolated. Until now, we've been totally ignored by everyone. But just to let you know, have you ever been in Israel?
No.
We are halfway between Jerusalem, which is smack center of the country, and the Dead Sea or the Jordan River. We are 10-minute drive from Jordan, and we're 10-minute drive from the terrorists if they come across in force.
Mm.
So think for yourself. I mean, you've probably watched enough war movies to know that if you have a community with 200 people and all of a sudden 10,000 terrorists or 5,000 terrorists come to attack it, it's not going to be an easy battle.
Yes.
And, I told Valerie, I told all of you, I have this silly little pistol, and but there are a few dozens others of us in the community, including women who are armed. And we would have to fight to the last bullet to defend our community if one of the seven fronts decided to touch us. We're on the Jordanian front, and behind the Jordanian front is the Iranian front. And our military stretched out in Gaza, stretched out in Lebanon, stretched out in Judea and Samaria. And we're in the middle of the desert. We're very isolated.
Mm.
If you've ever been to New Mexico, our neighborhood is kind of like Santa Fe. Have you ever been to Santa Fe?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Beautiful area, not big mountains, nice mountains, cactus, and that's what we have here. When you drive on the highway, there's signs at night that say, "Careful, camels on the road." We've got camels on the road. When Valerie gets better, you and Valerie come over and be my guest.
That would be lovely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We all need to be praying for not just our elections, but your government and your military leaders, and of course your safety and your children and grandchildren. And we
Right.
all need to make this a big matter of prayer. And you
Yes.
need all the support you can get, I know, with
Yes.
all of our countries turning against you, towards globalism. Yeah, but I know that we will. I know we all love our country. We love you. We love Israel. Well, so we'll be doing that.
Good. Amen. I'm waiting for things to level out somehow so I can come to Dallas and visit you guys. But at this point, we still have no idea when it will be safe. Well, when it will be safe for me to leave my wife. Maybe I should bring my wife with me to the States, but then I don't have to worry about her here. But then the rest of the community.
So there is really uncertainty each day you begin as to if they will be able to progressively look for those they are keeping or just going after Hamas to eliminate their hold.
There's stuff going on. And there are terrorists running around with weapons smuggled in from Iran. And, even though, we are safe, but every day is post-trauma. Post-trauma in an objective, passive manner, that things could happen to us in 5 minutes that we don't have any control over.
Mm.
And we're not asking the U.S. to come and fight for us or defend us. We're just asking that the weapons that we have ordered and have been promised to us should be given to us without delay. So we'll see.
Mm.
Last time I saw Valerie was a year and a half ago. I haven't been in Texas a year and a half already. So, would like to go back and get back to the work that I'm used to doing instead of just sitting behind the screen.
We can't wait. I hope it happens soon. Yeah, bring Rachel. That'd be great.
I'm trying to get her out of the house. But the problem is, you know, she has her garden, and she has to keep the house clean. She doesn't like dust. You know, she's always dusting. She's got the grandkids. Who am I? You go and work, make some money. I haven't made any money in your half. Praise God to be alive. Every morning I wake up and say, praise the Lord that I'm alive another day. And life is quiet. We're tranquil where we are, but we never know when everything will change in a moment.
Yeah, even if you brought Rachel, you'd probably be worried about your grandkids over here.
That's true. My son is 49 and is in the Army, 300 days already.
Yeah.
Lipkin Tours is frozen for now until the war ends.
Do you have an estimate of when one of your new books is going to be ready?
I have 3 books I'm preparing. One is I've written 7 books, but my 4th book about the Bible Block Party was written in 2006. So I'm almost completing that in the next few days. The book will be sent to a number of publishers to see if anyone's interested. But I've been warned that there might be bad guys who will sign me a contract and then bury the book. So I've got some Christian friends on my Thursday Zoom, and they're telling me, bring the book here. We'll publish it here in Texas. But still, I have to go to Texas for that. Then tomorrow night, I have a meeting with a fellow who has been investigating the activities of a bunch of us people from 50 years ago about the partisan settlements. It's really a book on Israeli history after the Six-Day War, and I appear in the book. So I'll be hopefully translating the book for them into English, and we're going to find a way to print it in the States. And then my 3rd book that I'm working now on is Turkey and the Armageddon. So I'm trying to get that printed up, published also. And I'm trying to get the books out in Russian and Hebrew for purposes of getting votes in the party, you know, for the next elections in 2 years.
Did you see the 700 Club has a video about Israel, and it has one lady, I can't remember her name, but she was the witness to when the Hamas came in. She was hiding in one of those safe houses, and she tells the whole story about what happened to her and her family and the baby and everything. And
we've had so many of these testimonies, and people don't believe
it. Well, they have a whole video, and
yeah.
And then, have you heard about that video that they have?
Of course, sure.
Yeah, and when you order it, it doesn't come out till the 30th. But when you order it, you can get it streamlined. So I got to see it streamlined. And then in the end, they talk about Israel and how Israel has overcome so many things. How they don't lose their hope. They overcome so many things. Yeah.
Well, all I can tell you, my dear, please pray for Israel.
Yes.
And I'll pray for you guys that God be merciful on America.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I hope we have a date for next Tuesday, God willing, at the same time. And I'm going to have to get ready now for my TV Zoom with Odessa, Texas in about 20 minutes. And Thursday, I have the Zoom with Janice Turkey in Hempstead, Texas. And then Friday, I have a new group in North Carolina. So.
Wow. That's where my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren are in North Carolina.
Send me an email. If I have an email address, I can forward the address of the Zoom. Okay, guys?
Thank you, Avi. Shabbat shalom.
Thank you.
Shalom.
Shabbat shalom, Laurie.
Bye.
You're the hostess with the mostest. Thank you.
See you next week.
Yeah, see you next
Bye,
week.
Susan. Love you all.
Love you.
Thanks,
you.
Avi.
Love you.